Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. You learn that actions and decisions have consequences, and you have to be responsible and accountable for your actions. And accountability is built by being responsible. Being responsible meaning that if you do something and this is the consequence, you stand by that and say, yes, it was me, good or bad, but that takes courage. This kind of behavior is instilled in children. If you don't have it when you are an adult, that means you have a poor upbringing, probably. Another reason is when an adult displays lack of accountability or personal responsibility is simply the desire. They don't wanna. So they say, well, I'm not going to be responsible, and I will pretend I'm not. So it's either you're a bad person because you avoid it, or you're a bad upbringing, you don't even know what that is. In this case, we're going to talk about Japan, that is smacked by Russia, and it shows lack of personal reflection, lack of accountability, personal responsibility as a country. I love Japan. I love its culture. I love its people. I got engaged with so many activities concerning the Japanese culture. I know something about it. I love Japan. The problem is, as in many democracies, not the best people get elected in office because that's the way democracies sometimes work. You got weasels who pretend, you got the media covers for them, and then they get elected and they do the bidding of other people, other interests, not the ones that voted for them. So what's happening here with or between Japan and Russia? I have two articles. This is the first one right here, and this is from Republic World. And Republic World is an Indian media outlet, and this article it is from January 23rd, 2023. The title reads, and I'm quoting, "Joined Unfriendly Nations," end quote. Russia rejects talks possibility with Japan on peace treaty. Now, for people who are not familiar with the situation, there's no peace treaty signed between Russia or Soviet Union and Japan since the Second World War. So they're technically at war, and they've been trying to solve this problem. But the thing that stands between solving this problem are the Kurils Islands, or the Northern Territories, as the Japanese call them. And the problem over there is Soviet Union invaded those at the end of the Second World War, so they grabbed those, attacking Japan. In the meantime, Truman dropped two atomic bombs onto civilian cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 6th of August 1945 and 9th of August 1945. Therefore, they had the Japanese surrendering to them, not to the Russians, even though they were envoys coming from Tokyo to surrender to Soviet Union, not Russia. My bad. But Truman changed that. So anyway, I'm not going to discuss that. I already did, but anyway, the problem is there's no peace treaty between the two countries. The Japanese courted Putin for some time, and Putin had a good relationship with former prime ministers of Japan. The problem is, war in Ukraine is where it is. Japan introduced itself in the equation without having to, but it was pushed by its masters, like everybody else in Europe, so they had to place sanctions and open their beak and bark at Russia. Action that was not supposed to be there. It was nothing between Japan and Russia. It was about Russia and NATO. Last time I checked, Japan is not in NATO. All right? And it was, I don't know how many, 4,000 miles away from the Japanese territories, what was happening in Europe. So anyway, the actions and now consequences. Now, Japan wants to discuss the peace treaty with Russia after they punched Russia in the balls, and they expect now to be given candies. So you kick them in the balls yesterday, and now you come to Russia and say, hey, can I have some candies? What do you think the Russians should do? Well, that is, as I said, lack of self-reflection. You don't realize what you did. lack of personal accountability and responsibility. I mean, you do this, that you did something that you were not supposed to give and get engaged in, and you expect to now to discuss with Russia that. What do you expect? They're gonna give you what you gave them back, unless they're weak. And remember, look at this article right here, bang, coming from Sputnik, from the 11th of January 2023. Japanese government's approval rating drops to record low of 33%. Poll shows. So Mr. Kishida, the prime minister, is down. That means it does a poor job. His constituency says so. As Japanese citizens say so. Hey, Kishida, you do something that your population thinks it's against their own interest. But it's in the interest of other countries. But you are not elected by those countries. You are elected by your beautiful Japanese people. So, the rating of Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's government has dropped to the lowest figure of 33% among those surveyed, down by 3 percentage points compared with December. A poll released by the Japanese broadcaster showed on Wednesday. So, you're in bad shape. There, you're in bad shape. At home, you're in bad shape on international arena. So, let's read the first article. A comprehensive dialogue with Japan on the World War II peace treaty, and I'm quoting, is currently impossible, end quote. Kremlin press secretary Dmitry Peskov said on Monday. I think that's just logical, according to APA, and I'm quoting again. A meaningful dialogue on a peace treaty with Japan is unlikely to be possible now, because Tokyo joined the camp of countries that are not friendly, US, EU, to sanction the Russian Federation, end quote, said Peskov. So you joined that was your action, no, and then this is our reaction. Moscow scrapped the World War II peace treaty talks with Japan over its coordinated response to the Ukraine war with its ally, the United States. Just days after Russia annexed 4 regions of war-torn Ukraine, Japan imposed a barrage of sanctions on Russian officials and its neighboring ally, Belarus. Again, introduced itself in an equation that they had nothing to do with. Russia's foreign ministry derided Japan for colluding with Group of 7, G7, partners against the Russian Federation. Moscow, in turn, ended a visa-free regime for Japanese nationals. And I'm quoting, in the light of the outspokenly unfriendly nature of Japan's unilateral restrictions against Russia over the situation in Ukraine, the following measures are to be taken, end quote, the Russian Foreign Ministry announced in a statement. Japan, and I'm quoting, not displaying anything constructive, end quote, Peskov said. On Monday, at a state presser, Peskov dismissed the possibility that Russia might resume talks on signing a peace treaty with Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's government. And I'm quoting, Japan has quite actively joined the camp of those countries that became unfriendly to us. And with its action in terms of bilateral relations, Japan is not displaying anything constructive, end quote, he asserted. Furthermore, Putin's press secretary said that any, and I'm quoting, meaningful dialogue, end quote, with Tokyo, and I'm quoting again, is currently absent. And certainly under these conditions, it is hardly possible to talk about this possibility de facto, end quote. Earlier, the Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida had expressed its willingness to resume the stalled discussions with Russia. This guy goes, and it's unbelievable, saying that despite the war in Ukraine and the difficult state of affairs between Tokyo and Moscow, Japan looks forward to resolving territorial issues with Moscow and, quoting, concluding the peace treaty, end quote. That will not happen, Kishida. We know that, you know that, they know that, we all know that. The Russian Foreign Ministry unilaterally terminated the treaty talks in March 2022 as a consequence to your stupid actions, remember? And also scrapped the bilateral dialogue and arrangements with Japan on joint economic activities on the southern Kuril Islands, Northern Territories. Moscow also suspended the 1998 bilateral safe fishing agreement near the disputed Kuril Islands known as the Northern Territories in Japan. So they want, again, right here, Japan says it will firmly request Russia to resume talks on suspended 1998 fishing pact. That is from the same media outlet on the 23rd of January 2023. And I'm quoting, "We will firmly request Russia," they don't give a fuck, engages in intergovernmental talks so that our fishing operations can begin as soon as possible in 2023. Matsuo said. Okay, Matsuo, you know that will not happen. You know that, we know that, we all know that, but you are deluded in your head. You don't accept responsibility. You're not accountable. You don't hold yourself accountable for your BS that you did. You didn't have time, or you didn't reflect on your actions. You just think nothing happened. Well, I don't think you have a bad upbringing. I think you're just a bad person by doing that, because you know you can't go and take a shit in front of someone's entry door, knock at the door and say, "Can I have some toilet paper, please?" You can't do that. Basically this is what these guys did. Knock at Russians' door after they take a poop in front of their entrance door. You open the door and say, "Hey, excuse me, Gigi, can I have some toilet paper for the doo-doo I just..." You can't do that. I mean, you can, but then you can't do that. What do you expect should happen? A smack. That's exactly what Japan got from Russia, and will keep doing that. Will keep receiving smacks from Russia. You will see. And from China. And I'm sorry for the Japanese people. But hey, you got weasel policies. 33% approval rating for the Kishida's government. Yeah, the same as Biden, about what, 39 or 40 or something. Great, good job. Keep on doing what you're doing. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just, my friends.